All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome. We hope that you're looking forward to today's session as much as we are. And we're live just a couple of minutes early to give folks a moment to get set up, settle in. And as we do, we'd love to invite you to join us on camera. It would be great to see some more of the faces behind the names of the folks on the call with us here today. So if you'd like, go ahead and click that raise hand icon that you see on your screen, and our team will give you access to the camera to turn that on. All right, and as you log in, I also encourage you to open up the chat, say hello, introduce yourself, and tell us which part of the world you're dialing in from. In LEAD, we have a very global community, and we would love to see the different parts of the world represented here on this call as well. All right. I see folks are typing into the chat now. Elaine, welcome from Chile. I see Montreal, Quebec is here. We have folks from India, folks from right next door to Stanford in Sunnyvale, and different parts of California. I saw Brazil, a couple of people from Peru, Argentina, from Ghana, from Alaska. Let's see, Texas, Mexico, Ukraine, Serbia, New Zealand, all different parts of the world, which also means all different parts of the day. We really appreciate you making the time to be here, whether it's morning, afternoon, evening, or sometimes late into the night for some of you. Thank you so much. And for the folks that just logged in, welcome. We're looking forward to today's session. And as you can see on your screen, folks are turning on their cameras. We invite you to join us on camera as well if you'd like. We'd love to see more faces on the call, make it more interactive. So if you'd like to join us, go ahead and click that raise hand icon that you see on your screen and give us just a moment. Our team will give you permissions to turn on your camera. As you get set up as well, if you haven't already, open up your chat box and you will see introductions flying by, folks saying hello and telling us which part of the world they're dialing in from. So if you haven't joined in already, please feel free to join in and tell us where you're located as well. It's great to see the really incredible global representation on this call. But we have a short amount of time together here today, so I want to make sure that we go ahead and get started, make the most of that time that we have. And first, I want to start off by just extending a very warm welcome to each of you. My name is Marina, Director of the LEAD program, and on behalf of our entire team at the Graduate School of Business, we're so delighted to have you joining us today to get a taste of LEAD through this webinar on exceptional leadership, the brain-body connection. Now, before we officially get started, I'd like to just take a few minutes to provide a bit of context into the LEAD program and its relation to today's session. Now, Stanford LEAD is the business school's flagship online program, and this is a particularly exciting year for the program as we celebrate its 10th anniversary. And over the last decade, this program has proven to provide such a rich and transformative learning experience that's truly reflective of just the best of Stanford GSB. Now, this program is rooted in the academic rigor and the high-touch values of the school, and our courses are taught by some of our most senior tenured faculty who are at the top of their fields worldwide. They teach across our MBA and our executive programs. And there is an 8-course requirement that you'll be expected to complete in the program, and that includes a set of required foundation courses. It includes a leadership core course and 5 electives that you can choose from over 15 that are offered to really customize your learning and achieve the goals that you've set out for yourself. Now, today's webinar is focused on one of your elective course options called Neuroscience and the Connection to Exemplary Leadership. And that course is taught by Professor Baba Shiv, who I'm looking forward to introducing you all to in just a moment. Now, across all of our courses in LEAD, the faculty teach using a very unique learning model that really ensures you master what you learn through hands-on assignments that you'll apply immediately to your real-world context. So You'll see results right away as you progress through the coursework and ultimately in a capstone final project in most of your courses. Plus, you'll receive very personalized, high-touch support from your course facilitators who take on a role that's balanced between a teaching assistant and an executive coach to support your learning throughout the program. They'll follow your individual progress in every course, and they offer personalized feedback and coaching along the way to really help you stretch and get the most out of the program. Now, in addition to learning from the incredible faculty and the course facilitators in the program, a core part of your learning experience in LEAD will also be through engagements with a community of your peers. Now, there are over 6,000 individuals who have enrolled in the program over the last 10 years, coming from such a diverse set of personal and professional backgrounds. And although it's an online program, the learning environment in LEAD is highly social. It's very connective. So you'll be engaging with fellow leaders from all around the world, like on this call, across professional functions and industries. And this really gives you a rich opportunity to learn from one another and deepen and expand your perspective on the topics that are being covered. Now, of course, all of this is done in a flexible online format. We certainly recognize that you lead full lives. You have lots going on with your personal and your professional commitments already. And this program was conceived specifically with this in mind, with just the right balance of rigor and flexibility to make it work with your day-to-day demands. And just to give you a sense of the program structure, LEAD runs over a period of 1 year. It's part-time, it's fully online, and traditionally participants invest about 5 to 10 hours per week to complete the 8 courses required to earn the professional certificate from the business school. Although I will note that there are options to reduce your course load, extend your enrollment over a longer period of time if that works better with your schedule. But the folks that invest in this program come back to share such inspirational stories of how they've used it to upskill, to push their careers to the next level, and really elevate their impact. And we're delighted to have 2 ambassadors who have volunteered their time to share about their program experience and outcomes with all of us a bit later in today's session. And as you'll hear, the program delivers incredibly strong results, really helping individuals grow and transform, both on a professional and on a personal level. So today, we're looking forward to sharing just a small taste of what that LEAD learning experience offers with all of you. And to do that, it's my pleasure to introduce you to Stanford GSB professor Baba Shiv, who teaches what's fondly known about among participants as the Neuro course in LEAD. It's called Neuroscience and the Connection to Exemplary Leadership. And in the program, he's supported by a team of course facilitators, and we're thrilled to have Casa Hannon from that team to support your learning in this session as well. So Baba and Casa, thank you for your time. I'll turn it over to you and let's dive in.
Oh, thank you, Marilyn. So welcome everyone for this webinar. My name is Baba Shiv, and I came to Stanford in 2005. So I've been on the Stanford faculty now for 20 years. This year marks my 20th year being at Stanford. Before that, I was at the University of Iowa for 9 years, which is when I got into the brain sciences, working with people like, Antonio Damasio, Hannah Damasio, Antoine Bechara, etc. And then before that, I had spent 5 years at Duke getting my PhD from, Duke University with some of the top decision-making researchers, which is where I got into doing research, which is what I spent my 35 years. This coming year will be 35 years of my being in academia. But that's when I started my career studying decision-making. I'm talking about very consequential decisions, decisions that are very consequential for you, the people around you, your organization, etc. And also not just about making consequential decisions, but also shaping others' consequential decisions. So not just decision making, but also decision shaping. There are two facets of what makes truly exceptional leaders. Exceptional leaders, you'll notice, are very effective on two fronts. One is in terms of making decisions, the tough decisions, and the other one in terms of shaping others' decisions. And in a way, this neuro course, as we call it here, the neuro course is captures the essence of all my learning that has spanned now 3.5 decades. So kind of just kind of lovely to kind of offer that to this audience. When I came into 2005 to Stanford, it was what struck me about this place, and those of you who have been to the campus, Stanford campus, or even to the Bay Area at large, and I see some people in the audience are from the Bay Area, would have experienced this unique culture that exists out here and exists even at Stanford, which is what I call as a type 2 culture. Right. Now, if you look at statistics, we have the notion of the type 1 error and the type 2 error, remember? Now, what is the type 1 error in statistics? It's a fear of making a mistake. It's a fear of failure. Now, that's also a mindset that can prevail at the level of the individual, can prevail at the level of organizations in terms of the organizational culture, even at the level of countries where failure is looked down upon, is frowned upon. Failure is sometimes even punished. So in this particular mindset, the type 1 mindset, the brain wants to avoid failure because failure is very painful for the brain, very shameful for the brain. Now, what is the type 2 error in statistics? It's not a fear of making a mistake. It's a fear of missing out on opportunities, FOMO, as it is often referred to. And it is really not a fear, it is a desire for new opportunities. And what is unique about this particular mindset is that here, failure is not painful for the brain, not shameful for the brain, because what the brain will do in this particular mindset, the type 2 mindset, is to spontaneously reframe failure as a challenge. And challenges become very exciting for the brain in this particular type 2 mindset. And that is the culture that exists out here. And I was struck by it. I was enamored by it. I was smitten by it. So in a very quick time, I began to teach at the design school. And it is from there that customer experience design, which is one of the modules in the neuro course, has come from, which is marrying the concepts from design thinking with the concepts from the brain sciences. And then I offered a course at the D School, which is about scaling design thinking in large organizations. In the sense that how do we use design thinking as a vehicle to change the culture, especially in more mature organizations, right? I mean, we all know about this, and many of you probably have experienced this, that when a company is very young, an early stage startup, it is going to be inherently type 2, right? Very scrappy, trying on different things, failing, pivoting, etc. A lot of chaos, very chaotic environment. And then once it is able to cross the chasm, so to speak, it gets its product market fit, now everything has to be designed for scaling. Now you got to bring in discipline, no more chaotic environments. And this is when you'll put systems in place, as a leader, you'll put processes in place, you'll put KPIs in place. And what that will do is shift the culture of the organization, which is predominantly type 2, to both type 1 and type 2. In other words, the organization has become ambidextrous, to borrow a term from my friend and colleague, Charles O'Reilly, who has done a lot of work on the ambidextrous organization, right? But the danger is that, and I'm sure many of you have experienced this, is that very quickly this type 1 will become a capital T type 1, where there'll be very little, if not any tolerance for failure. And this will be the beginning of the end of that mature organization. And therefore, the question I was asking was, can we somehow bring design thinking as a way to change the culture from a capital T type 1 organization, once again, back into becoming ambidextrous, being effective at both exploitation and exploration, not just effective at exploitation, which is what will happen in a capital T type 1 organization. It's important given that the change is happening so fast. And the problem with the type 1 mindset and a type 1 culture is that you'll be trying to use yesterday's solutions for tomorrow's problems. But what we need is tomorrow's solutions for tomorrow's problems. And so that is another module in the neuro course where we talk about the ambidextrous organization. What are the different ways using neuro concepts to shift the culture within the organization? Over the course of my time here at Stanford, and even before that, I've been very blessed to meet with some truly exceptional leaders across different domains, not just in the domain of business, but also in the domain of the military and so on. And These are truly exceptional leaders who have shown exceptional leadership qualities, not just 1 year and 2 years, but year after year after year, sometimes for decades. And if you look at these people who are at the top, showing exceptional qualities of leadership, you'll see that they're effective at two things, among others. As I mentioned earlier on, one, they're effective at winning the outer game. The outer game is about being able to inspire people, gain the trust of people, being able to change the minds of people, win the hearts and minds of people, etc., and get the best out of others. That is about winning the outer game. But even more important, I would argue, and this is what you'll see as a common thread that goes through all these exceptional leaders who show these exceptional leadership qualities, is that they're not just winning the outer game, they are also winning the inner game. And I would argue that what is the point in winning the outer game if you're not feeling happy, if you're not feeling fulfilled, if you're not feeling satisfied? And that's the critical thing. And that's why the Neuro course starts off with how do you go about winning the inner game? And this is where I'll kind of share some of my more recent work. For about 5 years, I've been studying human excellence and bringing science into the study of human excellence. I mean, human excellence has been studied by a lot of people out there, but I'm bringing science into the study of human excellence. And so, since I'm bringing science into the study of human excellence, the first question you're going to ask me is, how do you define excellence? Wait a minute, you have to define the terminology. Now, the way I define that is the following. Now, if you think about it, all of us, and go back to your own lives, I'm sure you have experienced some on days, what I call on days, and you experience these off days. Right? We all experience this, right? If you have an on day, you would recollect that you woke up in the morning with a spring in your step out there. I mean, things were happening with ease, very fluid out there, right? If someone cuts you off in traffic as you're driving to work, it doesn't bother you at all. You're working on your report, it just comes out seamlessly. You're going back home in the evening, your child comes to you and asks you for help on their homework, and you're able to say, yes, I'll help you out, right? And you remember these off days. In the off days, you wake up in the morning and you're in a grumpy, foul mood. You're stubbing your toe somewhere and you're kind of complaining. Someone cuts you off in traffic. You go ballistic. Have you experienced that? You're working on a report and the first draft, second draft, third draft, no, nothing is coming out. And we all experience that, right? You go back home and then your child asks you for help with the homework and you just again go ballistic and you say, this is why school education is not good and so on and so forth, right? I mean, hasn't this happened? It's the same demands on your time. It's the same demands on your energy, the same demands on you. And yet you have responded very differently to these demands. And what is different between these two? Well, in one case, you had an on day. In another case, you had an off day. That's all about it. And therefore, the question I've been asking in my research, which is what is part of the opening kind of modules where we get into the inner game, is asking this fundamental question. And that is, given all the advancements in the neurobiological sciences since the decade of the brain, the 1990s, which is when I got into the brain sciences, given all these advancements, where we have a pretty good understanding now about the system architecture, can we come up with a protocol? Can we come up with a set of interventions which, if followed, will allow all of us to instrument more on days when our neurobiological system will be naturally, effortlessly geared towards manifesting excellence? Excellence as a verb, getting the best version of yourself. We all have the best version, we all have the worst version. And generally, the best version is going to show up when you have an on day. The worst version is going to show up when you have an off day. And all you have to do then is, given all the science that we have, can we come up with a set of practices, mind body training practices, which, if followed, will allow all of us to get the best version of ourselves on a more and more consistent basis. And second, become better and better and better at things that we care about. In other words, have a growth mindset, right? And that's where the retreat begins. And it starts with understanding the system architecture. My background is engineering, as some of you in the audience would be, and as I'm a mechanical engineer. So the way I look at it is that we have to understand the system architecture to begin with, so that we can see what we can do with the system architecture and see if we can do interventions out there so that the machine is working in harmony, so that it is kind of purring along rather than being kind of, messing around the way and so on and so forth. And the way I think about this is that if you want to understand a system, you have to understand what are the fundamental objectives of the system. So we had asked ourselves, what are the fundamental objectives of the neurobiological system? And that's what we begin with in the neuro course as well. And if you think about it, the fundamental objective of the system is survival. I mean, one is reproduction, of course, but fundamentally, the fundamental objective of any neurobiological system out there, and remember that the human neurobiological system has been built by evolution across millennia, starting from about 400 or 500 million years ago, when the first nervous systems are emerging in evolution, and that is the roundworms, the nematodes, the first thing that is appearing, and it's all built upon that, right? And so you ask yourself, if it is, what is the purpose of the system? One thing for survival is that the system will have to make sense of the world around it. Not just the present, it has to be able to backcast. It has to have some mechanism of learning and memory in order to forecast, because survival requires being able to anticipate the future. But it's not enough that the system just be able to anticipate the future. It also has to be adaptable to the future. Why? Because what we anticipate may not pan out. So the system has to be flexible. It has to change course, change strategy if things are not working out and try something different, right? It has to be adaptable as well. And if you go down to the core of the neurobiological system, you go down to the nematodes, the roundworms out there, just 302 neurons, you'll see baked into that system upon which everything else is built, upon which your persona is built, and all those things are built later on. If you look at the base of that core of the neurobiological system, of the system architecture, you'll see adaptability is baked into that system in the form of two modes of operation, two states of being, which then give rise to two different personas. Okay, when it comes to human level, we have personas with their own unique mindsets. One is a protect state, a play it safe state, a threat avoidance state, which will then translate into a risk-averse persona with a type 1 mindset. The other one is not a protect mindset, it's a prospect mindset. It is not a threat avoidance mindset, it is an opportunity seeking mindset, which will then translate going up into the persona in the form of a risk tolerant persona, even a risk seeking persona with a type 2 mindset. Now, we begin with that, and then we incorporate that in the form of a framework, what we call as the X framework, which is what will form the anchor for all the concepts and tools, etc., that will go across most of the quarter. And this particular framework is something that I published in 2012, and there's substantial evidence in support of that. So basic idea behind what this framework captures, which will form the anchor for the neurocores, is looking at two different circuitries, two distinct circuitries with distinct neurochemical markers, one associated with type 1 and another associated with type 2. It's remarkable how evolution has done this. Dedicated one circuitry for type 1, dedicated another circuitry for type 2. The type 1 circuitry, it cycles between stress and comfort, stress and comfort, stress and comfort, and the neurochemical factors that are associated with this particular circuitry, by and large, are two of them. One is serotonin, which is the calming chemical. It's a neuromodulator, which is the calming chemical. And the other one is cortisol, which is the stress chemical. And the way you should think about this is in the numerator, you have serotonin, and in the denominator, you have cortisol. Symbolically, not literally, when you can't assign numbers to this, it's basically suggesting that these two systems are in opposition to one another. So that any factor that increases the numerator serotonin, any factor that decreases the denominator cortisol, will ensure that the system is more towards the comfort end of the pathway, other way around, closer to the stress end of the pathway. And this will have profound, believe me, profound implications for the brain's tolerance towards risk and uncertainty, the system's tolerance towards risk and uncertainty. And that's what is covered in the retreat. Okay, that's the type 1 circuitry. And the type 2 circuitry, which cycles between boredom and excitement, okay, and it has another chemical, Another neuromodulator, which is the excitatory chemical, dopamine. Higher levels of dopamine, more in an excitatory state and go an anticipatory state. Lesser levels of dopamine, more lethargy, apathy, etc. So to be cycling through that. And what is critical about it, and this is what, if you understand the system architecture, you know what interventions to do. You know how to go about creating a harmony across the system so that it is naturally geared towards manifesting excellence and getting the exceptional qualities out of you as a leader, being exceptional at the outer game as well as the inner game, if you understand the system architecture, right? And the critical component of that is that for the system to switch from the risk-averse type 1 mindset to the risk-tolerant type 2 mindset, first and foremost, the system needs to be in a stable level of comfort. If it is not in a stable level of comfort, the system will be unable to switch, which makes a lot of evolutionary sense. Think about it. Right? The whole notion of loss aversion, which essentially says that loss is the ratio of losses to gains, or the ratio of pains to gains is 2:1, in the sense that the intensity of the pain that you're going to experience by losing $50 is twice as much as the intensity of the pleasure you're going to get by receiving $50. The same amount, but the loss versus gain is the ratio of 2:1, which makes evolutionary sense. I mean, think about the animal in the wild that is experiencing stress. Now, what is it signaling to the animal's brain? Danger. One of the major objectives of the animal's brain, including the human brain, is to keep us safe. The whole notion of loss aversion. The brain is going to say, the system is going to say, I'm not even going to give you the impulse to explore because you can get hurt, you can even die, and I need to protect you from that. And therefore, what the system would do when it is in a state of stress, it doesn't like to be in a state of stress, which is unpleasant for the brain. It'll try to get out of that unpleasantness by seeking comfort, by going in for the familiar, by going in for the tried and trusted, which is where it'll start using yesterday's solutions to tomorrow's problems. It'll go for validation. What are other people doing? I'll follow suit, the classic bandwagon effect. And if it's still not able to get its reassurance and comfort, it'll go for a low risk option. Unbeknownst to you, your conscious brain, it'll go for a no risk option. And this is what will manifest. I'm sure you experience this, especially when you have off days, when you tend to put off your decision. Like, let us discuss this in another meeting. So the number of meetings will begin to proliferate. Let's have a pre-meeting to discuss the meeting. Let's have a post-meeting, discuss the meeting. Meeting, nothing happening out there, right? This is when let's get more data. Yeah, especially in organizations that pride themselves as being, we are a data-driven organization. Yeah, that's why you're slow at making decisions. You just have to get the data, make the decision and move on, right? So this is what will begin to happen, and unbeknownst to your conscious, all this is happening non-consciously. I mean, this is in line with what the late Danny Kahneman, the Nobel laureate Danny Kahneman, his book, if you read Thinking Fast and Slow, he says that most of human decisions, whether we like it or not, by some estimate, something like 90 to 95% of human decisions and behaviors are constantly being shaped by what he calls our fast thinking systems, not by these slow thinking, deliberative, rational systems. And even important decisions, we might think we're being rational, but at the end of the day, if you pit the emotional brain against the rational brain, it is the emotional brain that is going to win. And in fact, if you look at all the work out there, what you'll realize is that what we pride ourselves as having a rational brain, that rational brain very often is only subservient to the emotional brain. And in fact, what you'll notice is that what the rational brain very often is good at is not at being rational. That's not what the rational brain very often is good at. What the rational brain very often is good at is at simply rationalizing what the emotional brain has already decided to do, and we are not even aware of it. And that's why it behooves us to open the black box, unravel the workings of what the late Danny Kahneman called fast thinking systems, instinctual brain body systems that we share with other animal species, including the nematodes. Unravel the workings of that and become prescriptive. What does this mean for various human endeavors? What does this mean for being truly exceptional leaders, winning not just the outer game, but also winning the inner game? So that forms the anchor behind the whole kind of concept. Now, therefore, if you think about what we need in this thing, this has got huge ramifications, by the way the brain, the system works, where if it is not getting into a stable level of comfort, it'll be unable to switch out there. It's got huge implications for decision making, because in decision making, you'll be using yesterday's solutions and tomorrow's problems, but has huge implications for decision shaping as well, which again forms part of some of the modules in the neuro course is about how do you go about shaping decisions. For example, how if you expect someone to get out of their comfort zone to support you, take a chance out there, right? I'm sure you've kind of had these urgings, and you have said this to your kids as well. Get out of your comfort zone, right? You heard that. You also probably said it. How do you get out of your comfort zone if you're not in the comfort zone to begin with? You have to be in the comfort zone to begin with. And that's the basic idea. If you're going to change people's minds and win their hearts and minds, it's not about presenting these rational arguments. It's about feeding into what the emotional brain is looking for. And that very often is going to be determined by the mindset. If it's going to be type 1, you've got to build into the value proposition things that bring about comfort, like the familiar, the tried and trusted, validation, etc. Right? If it's a type 2 that you're going after, then you've got to weave into the value proposition things that will bring about excitement and those things out there. Right? And that's what we get into in terms of the decision shaping environment. Now, we start. So what it means in the framework, as per the way the system, we understood the system architecture now. You have to make sure that your system is as far as possible in a state of comfort homeostatically, right? Because if your system is in a state of comfort, your system will become very flexible. It can easily switch between type 1 and type 2 and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. In other words, your system will become highly adaptable, will become highly agile, highly flexible, which is one of the highlights of facets of experiencing an on day, right? I mean, if you experience an on day, typically what you'll realize is that you have two dimensions out there. One is agility, flexibility, the ease with which things begin to happen. And the second one is stability. In other words, when the outside world, due to adverse outcomes, etc., tends to push you off your rocker, so to speak, how quickly can you come back and recover from that, and have being able to think with equanimity, with calmness, etc. How quickly can you rebound out there? That's what you're looking for. You want this comfort, but how do you know if your system is in a state of comfort or not? And that's why we have to get into neurobiological markers of this. And in this particular retreat, we get everyone to start. And by the way, we call this as a retreat. The reason this is very important is because if I tell you this is a course, what are the first things that will come to mind? Assignments, etc., right? Assignments and deadlines and so on. How much of my time am I giving up for something else I'm going to receive? Things become very transactional. And what will be my relationship with you? It'll be one of a professor, right? Already hierarchy has come in. What if I say this is a retreat? Well, a retreat is very different. Now it's time for yourself. It's time for you to reflect on the journey that you've been on. Acquire new skills, new learnings, put them into practice to set you up for better success into the future, for more success into the future. That's what a retreat is about. Language does matter. And therefore, one of the techniques that we will teach very on, we'll cover in the retreat in the very first few modules, is about a technique that is called IRR, which is whenever you get a negative thought, you interrupt it. I. The second R is about relax. And the third one is to reframe. Reframe it. Now, people will say, but isn't reframing something about denial? No, reframing is just reality as seen from a different angle. I mean, you just look at reality. Reality can be seen from multiple angles. And if you look at people who are truly exceptional leaders, they look at reality from a very different angle than the people who are not successful. And that's what we're kind of trying to highlight early on. So you'll get onto the bandwagon. You'll start measuring your heart rate variability. And I'm sure some of you are already doing that through Aura rings and Whoops and Apple Watches and so on, and Garmin's, etc. Please continue doing that. But for this retreat, what we will do is get you to get a chest band, which is from either Garmin or Polar. and you would have seen this happening in gyms where people wear this around. It's pretty accurate. It is simply 2.5 minutes every morning, and then you don't can remove the belt. You don't need it. You measure your baseline heart rate variability every single morning, and then find out where you are in terms of the numbers and go in for interventions that'll jack up your numbers. And as you start doing this, you'll start beginning to discover that you're able to instrument more on days. And that's the reason why we kind of build this right in the beginning, because we want you to have those on days, even as a learner and as a sharer, because very quickly, when we get into the first few modules, you'll be getting into your fellowship circles. And that's very critical because one of the ways to deal with stress is leveraging social connections. So remember, at the base level of the system, if you look at even the nematodes, you have two basic fundamental needs. One is the need for certainty, type 1. One is the need for uncertainty, type 2. Built on top of that, when you start getting into the social side, you'll have the need for status, which is what the hierarchy, because we can't do things by ourselves. Humans cannot do things by ourselves. We need the help of others. You can do that in two ways. One is through status, through money, and so on. The other is through connection. We are inherently geared towards connecting with one another. And one of the most effective ways of relieving stress is to connect and bond with each other. And that is the goal of the fellowship circle, where the worst thing that you can do, believe me, trying to solve problems, life problems out there, work problems out there, the worst thing that you can do is to try to solve those problems by yourself. Because you'll just be stewing in your own juices out there. You're far better off sharing this with someone else. And that's what the fellowship circle is geared towards. Now, as you go through the entire 8 weeks, or the 6 to 8 weeks, the focus out there, you'll continue monitoring your heart rate variability, correlating that with are you having on days, and you now start correlating that with factors that have long cadence effects, sometimes 24 hours effects. And this is about your sleep, your fitness, the diet that you're having. Are you taking naps? Interventions like meditation? You can do all these experiments on yourself. And the reason you need to do this, we are now moving into a new era of precision medicine. Now you don't need to rely on averages. We are all neurodiverse. The saying says that someone will say, hey, you need to have 7.5 hours of sleep. Who says? You can find out for yourself. And that's the beauty of getting onto this bandwagon. And you'll be practicing this across the entire course as we start exposing you to the outer game elements, like, going about influencing individuals. How do you go about, from a customer experience design, how do you shape the decisions of many out there? How do you change the culture within the organizations? To decision making, how do you become effective at decision making, and so on? Okay. So that's what the whole purpose is. And the goal, the overarching goal of the retreat is to make sure that you have the right tools in place so that you can start manifesting the qualities of truly exceptional leaders, which already resides within you. And that is to bring the best version of yourself in terms of two aspects of life. One is in terms of making decisions, and the second is in terms of shaping others' decisions. So with this is kind of the broad overview. I thought you get a sense of what the retreat is about, what are the contents, etc. I'm going to transfer this now to Casa. She is a CF. And so what is remarkable about the LEAD certificate program? I know Marinette talked about it. This was an experiment which was started by my colleague and friend, Peter DiMarzo. It was a total type 2 experiment. I mean, it was done in an online format, and no one thought it would work, nothing, but that's okay. We learned along the way, we experienced failures along the way, and so on, but we learned very much from it. And I knew that this program had succeeded when two things happened. One, the alums wanted to give back. And when that happened, I knew we had created something good. And not only give back in terms of CASA as one of them, probably the second or third version of my kind of thing. Very early on, it was CX design, of course, and later on we moved to leadership. But in the CX design, she was one of the first of the students that she wanted to give back, and she came back with a CF, and she's been my CF for a long period of time. Thanks, CASA. And not only that, the other thing that emerged, which I thought was remarkable, was the alums on their own organizing a me-to-me event out here at Stanford. Can you believe it? 300, 400 people, all alums descending to campus and spending 3.5 days. All we do is provide space and a few things, but they organize the whole thing. And the level of bonding that takes place. That's when I realized that Peter and the team have created magic out here with this course. And so I just want to introduce Casa as well. Casa has been my CF for a long period of time, just kind of an amazing kind of person. So she'll kind of take you through, what her experience also has been as a student, but more importantly as a CF, and then more importantly, get specifics onto the course itself and the retreat itself and give you some idea about some specific modules.
Thank you,
Over to you,
Baba.
Casa.
I do have the joy and privilege of working with Baba on this course. And what you can see here on your screen now is a high-level outline of from the last time we offered this course. I hope this answers many of the questions I've seen all of you asking in chat. Again, my name is Casa. I live and work in Seattle, and I finished the LEAD program in 2018. And I will tell you that my training and background is computer science, so I spent most of my career in technology. And it was reading this course description that had me sign up for the entire year of the LEAD program just to take this course, because I had gotten to a point where I realized I didn't need to know more about technology. I needed to know more about working with people and getting work done through others. But I especially was fascinated by the idea of neuroscience. To me, the operating system we have between our ears is the real last frontier. It is so helpful, so important to get more information about how our brain and body work in order to be effective as a leader. So I'm going to give you a brief description of what this course outline is showing us. And then I want to dive into a specific module that Baba started to describe, which is around decision making, so that you have a takeaway today from that particular lesson. LEAD courses tend to be 8 or 9 weeks long, depending on whether we're accommodating some holidays. So as you can see, what we're looking at in these boxes is there's a kind of a week before the course begins where things start to open up to you. And then each week we have a module that's focused on a specific topic, and typically with an assignment that we'll do that week. LEAD is an experiential learning program. So one of the other hidden secrets that the faculty may or may not share is that they love teaching in LEAD because you are actually applying what they're teaching right away in your work. That's completely different than the online or the on-campus MBA students who are not actually working in their jobs while they're students. So the faculty get lots and lots of feedback from people in all different industries, in all different parts of the world, applying what they're teaching, applying their research. And that is a lot of validation that really reinforces the learning and again, strengthens that community. So each week we will be looking at a module, and you'll have an assignment that is about applying that learning. Often you can use it right away in your work, and it can be very helpful to doing your work and trying to study and work at the same time. The first few modules in this retreat are focused on winning the inner game. So as Baba alluded to, we want to learn more about our own unique neurobiology in order to operate at our highest level of performance. We'll talk a lot about what professional athletes do. We'll talk a lot about what C-level leaders do in different industries and different parts of the world, because many of them have adopted a lot of these habits. So again, we'll be using actual data such as your HRV, and we will have you sometimes write reflections about what you're noticing about your own experience. The goal of this is to strengthen our parasympathetic nervous system, increase our resilience to stress, because when we do that, it truly enhances our ability to have more on days, more good hair days, as I say. And that's one of the things that we can learn. As these first few modules, we will be talking about that type 1, type 2 framework for noticing our mindset and those neural pathways in our brain. We'll be talking about the neurochemicals and the fact that serotonin gets replenished when we sleep. So why wouldn't we be prioritizing sleep? We will be talking about the benefits of exercise, diet. We'll be looking at all of those things and their relationship, not only to the neuroscience, but ultimately to our performance and how it impacts that. So these first few modules are focused on winning that inner game. And again, our neurobiology is unique. If we could just publish a daily schedule that says do this at these times in this way and eat this and it will be magic, you'll perform like a professional athlete, we cannot, because we are all unique. So what we're doing is gaining a deeper understanding of neuroscience research, what we're learning about neurobiology, such that we can then understand our own best practices and tune our own performance, strengthening our own resilience to stress and ensuring that we are having more on days as leaders. So I love that this retreat starts out that way. Let me give you some more information about what you're looking at on the screen. So again, each module has a focus, and each module will likely have an assignment. So the role of the CF, or course facilitator, is that we are part of delivering a very high-touch learning experience. Not only will you have opportunities to interact directly with the professors in live sessions that are always recorded and made available to you if your schedule doesn't accommodate attending in person, but you will have a chance to engage specifically with a course facilitator assigned to you. So someone like me will be reading all of your submissions, writing feedback. In many cases, we will be answering any questions you might have. We're there to help clarify if you have any confusion. Think of this as an opportunity to test the learning, experiment with it, and I'm your coach. So when I see what you've done as your assignment, I will give you feedback on that. I'll let you know if it was off base or if you missed a concept or misinterpreted or misapplied something. I'll explain that. If you have done it beautifully, then I will give you opportunities to deepen your learning by applying it in new and different ways or reflecting on even more questions. It's a very personalized learning experience, and we build lots of close relationships. So you're never at a point where you feel like I'm on my own and I'm confused on this retreat. So the other thing you'll notice is, as you look at the rows, the bottom row for each of the weeks shows opportunities to interact and engage with others, either your community of participants or with the professor in live sessions. And those we refer to as live sessions. In this retreat, we offer what Baba described as the fellowship circles. And that's where a course facilitator will host a time for all of the learners who want to participate to get together to share what they're noticing. Because you'll be amazed what you can learn from each other as you're all applying the learning at the same time. This is another opportunity where participants in LEAD build extraordinary relationships with the other people they're learning with in this program, relationships that will last for the rest of your career. So live sessions or opportunities to engage and interact in person each week, if you're available to enjoy those and participate in those. Specific feedback on assignments that you submit, and or often peer feedback and opportunities to engage with other team members and give each other feedback and coaching on assignments. Those are important elements of this experience, this experiential learning experience. As we move through the course, we then shift to winning the outer game. And winning the outer game is about applying the neuroscience modules to the way you interact with stakeholders, the way you influence decisions made in the organization, the way you influence the organizational culture, the way that you help drive innovation and foster a culture of healthy debate. Specifically, Module 7, the decision-making module, I'll describe that as an example of what you might be doing in the experience each week. The assignment for Module 7, which is focused on decision-making, is to apply a structured decision-making framework to a decision. So as Baba was suggesting, about 95% of the decisions we make are made with our emotional brain. And our rational brain, that does all of the logic, rationalizes that decision to us. So we have the perception that we may be making it with as a rational decision. But I'll invite you, tell me in the chat, the decisions that you feel really good about, do you tend to rely on your gut or your logic? Gut or logic? Gut, I'm seeing some there. Gut instincts more, logic, gut. Yeah, we got a little bit of both. And some may be thinking, yeah, a combination of the two. Thank you for that. It depends. That's right. With this structured decision-making approach, we're harnessing what we've learned from neuroscience to give you a way to ensure that you are using both. And the importance of this is to do it in a specific sequence such that the outcome you get is confidence in that decision that you've made. So we begin by triggering the rational brain, using numbers to ensure that we are using all of that rational part of our brain. Then we invoke the emotional brain, and then we arrive at a decision. The intention is to have confidence in that decision, because often in life, when we're making decisions, we think that there's a right decision that we can get to. But with all of the uncertainties and ambiguities in the world, there may or may not ever be a right decision that we would know if this decision was right. So as Baba would say, and one of our favorite things to quote when we've spent time with Baba is, you make the decision and then you make the decision right. And you can do that when you have confidence in your decision making. So that gives you an idea of a specific module, the way the course might proceed across those 8 or 9 weeks of a course, and an example of what you might be doing as an assignment where you're applying a neuroscience module to a very specific decision opportunity, something that you can then apply to all decisions going forward. With that, I will turn it back to Marina. I know she has others who are ready to share with you about their experience.
We do. We have Gaurav and Minnie who are past LEAD program participants who have taken Baba's neuroscience course and have volunteered their time very graciously to be here and share with all of you about their course outcomes. So Baba, I'll let you introduce our ambassadors and engage them in a discussion about that.
Oh, yeah, lovely. Thanks, Marina. So we have Minnie and Gaurav. I don't know who is going first. Gaurav and Minnie, both of them took the LEAD certificate program a long time back and then decided to come back and take this particular neuro course, if I remember right. So why don't Minnie or Gaurav, maybe Minnie, you go first and just say a little bit about yourself and what you do and so on, and then more time in terms of what you got out of the retreat and what kind of what can future participants in the retreat expect, and what they can expect to take away and so on. Anything that you can share will be wonderful. So Minnie, you want to go first, and then Gaurav, you go next.
Thank you, Professor. So I was, before this retreat, the reason why I enrolled was because I saw Professor Baba present at the Me Too League, and it was very compelling. He showed the science behind taking care of yourself to get maximum performance. Before this course, I was very rational because I was a software engineer for 15 years. You know, you just very logical. Before I became a technical program manager, and I saw around me that deadline-driven, stressful Silicon Valley environment wasn't healthy. Unfortunately, I saw some coworkers, you know, pass out during meetings, or one even sadly passed away in January. And I believe it's all stress related. So when I took this course, I embraced it because I was open for a retreat. I knew something was not right. I was very data driven, results driven, meet the deadlines, meet your KPIs, meet your goals. But what about the people around me? So when I started taking the course, that's when I realized, okay, like Professor Baba said, we have to win the inner game before we can win the outer game. And the inner game is working on ourselves. And that's when when I started the course, my HRV or morning readiness, we were required to measure morning readiness, was a 4 out of 10. I started monitoring my sleep and my quiet time in the morning, meditation. Because in the past, the moment I wake up, the first thing I do is look at my phone. How's the stock market doing? Is it going to make me happy or make me sad? But now when I wake up, first thing I do is open my meditation app. I use Hallow. Everybody's different. And I use that to meditate. It gives me peace of mind. And then I have breakfast with my dog. My daughter is grown up, so we just have our dog now. And then I run with him and I play with him. And it makes me excited for it. And that I saw my morning readiness go up to 10. So long story short, I was winning the inner game because of what I learned from the course. And that is being human first, taking care of yourself, your health, and also your stress, and getting enough sleep. And like they say in the airline, right? Put on your oxygen mask before you put on the oxygen mask of the person next to you. Take care of yourself before you take care of others, so you can take care of others. And winning the outer game, once you're ready in the morning and you're ready, you're excited to go to work, then the focus is more about people, the people that we encounter. And I learned from the course, like the IKEA effect, where we have to get everybody involved, because people put more value in things that they work on with you, instead of just putting up presentations like, what do you think? Accept this. It has all the bullet points and the data. Now, it works more where when we collaborate, have lunch with people, and be interested in them as people, as human beings, and what are their goals, and what do they want to accomplish, and can you help them? Just like mentioned by Professor, making sure the focus is on bringing the best out of everybody, so that whatever we do at work and at home, we're bringing out the best. And I'm hoping that my daughter and my husband agree that they're seeing the improvement there, because I'm putting more effort into that. And also the part about making decisions. I used to be very risk averse about making decisions. Now I realize decision making has to be based on both logic and emotion, and it's basically based on what does everybody believe, or what matters is how is this decision going to impact people, and then have that confidence that the decision was well thought of, and then make it right. Have the confidence that you can make it right as a team, and bring everybody together And if you have to pivot, yeah, let's pivot. But the important thing is that we're all making decisions together, and it's just happier. It's less stressful. I think this is the most impactful course that I took, because one, it was a retreat. There was no stress. It was more about introspection and how do I apply being a human at home and also at work. And you know, if I have to go one day, I'm not going to say, oh, I wish I had more projects. No, I'm just going to say, how did I make people feel, and did I bring out the best in everybody?
Oh my God, thank you, Minnie. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. And Gaurav, you want to go next? Just introduce
Yeah,
yourself first. Don't forget to do that. Yeah, Gaurav. Thank you.
yeah,
And by the
thank
way,
you.
Gaurav is coming in from India. So Gaurav, I mean, hats off to you, man. It's like 4 a.m. or something out there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor. Hello, everyone. I'm an automotive professional with almost 2 decades of experience working in India's leading car company. And I've been leading the product planning domain in this organization, handling product roadmap and key decisions of the organization for the future development. So, as Professor was mentioning, how do we look at future? So that's my key role. How to assess the future requirements, how things are changing. And currently, I'm heading the EV development program management and innovation labs, spearheading initiatives in sustainable mobility and supporting Indian startup acceleration. So I completed my lead certificate program in 2022, and post that I continued pursuing many courses. And Professor Baba's neuro course was one of the course which I did, which I really liked, and it really helped me in improving my resilience. And as Professor Baba was today explaining about the course, it was like a a reflash of all the concepts which he taught during the course. And I mean, to be really honest, it really helped me to unfold ways to strengthen my inner game. Because generally, what we do is that we focus on how we can convince others, how we can, every day in our everyday working, in professional or personal lives, how we change the outer game, but we actually tend to forget that the inner game is much more important. So that was, one of my key learning, how to balance between the inner game and outer game and become a exemplary leader. And I try to practice whatever concepts and the learnings of the course. One of the key learning was how to toggle between the type 1 and type 2 mindset, which is protect and prospect. Generally, since I'm looking forward for the future product development, generally the tendency is to have more prospect mindset, seeking new opportunities. However, when you look at the current situation, you have to balance between how the protect and prospect. So it's not that you continue only exploration. So exploration of existing and exploration of new things. So how to strike a right balance is what is the key. And one thing which on everyday basis or on various meetings which I use is Professor Baba's watermelon phenomena. So it's kind of you see a watermelon, it's red, deep red inside and green from outside. So whenever things start or problem starts, when it comes to top management level, it everything becomes so green. So people are not aware about what kind of problem or they are facing, and there is no specific action on doing. So how do we avoid such situation on day-to-day basis, so that you come across with the positive kind of and focused approach. So these are some of the learnings which I am applying. And one of the other thing is that how do you practice energizing narratives to shape your destiny, right? So on everyday basis, what kind of change you can bring. So one of the change which I had brought is how to practice the energizing narrative. So same thing can be done and can be said in many ways. So is it, you have to ask yourself, is it energizing, or is it just, saying just the things? So that is one thing which is I am practicing daily, and it has improved a lot in my working. And as Professor Baba mentioned about decision shaping, for leaders, it is very important to take decisions. And it's not about taking decision, but having confidence on those decisions, and also influencing others to take decision which you think are appropriate. So how do you influence them? So after this course, I think I learned all those skills, and I've implemented all those in my day-to-day working, which has improved a lot in delivering results. And I'd like to draw one, analogy to conclude my learning summary. So if you have a glass and you try to throw some stone on it, so the glass may break, it may pierce. But the same glass, when tempered and becomes, and even a bullet cannot pierce it, right? So it's all about how the hardening is done for that glass by various situations, right? Whether it's kind of a tough situation or easy situation. So if you do like that, then this course help you to become that bulletproof glass. So that's my, summary or analogy for all the leaders who are joining, all the people who are the lead aspirants to, take these courses. And you will, when you combine all the learnings of various courses which are being given, so it will really help you become a better leader, better person, and who can bring change around yourself, around you, and the society where you are living in. So that's all from my side on these
Oh
courses. Thank
my
you very much.
goodness. Thanks, Gaurav. Thanks, Minnie. In fact, these are two of the, when we at the end, I kind of wind up now and hand over the baton back to Marilyn. But I remember, like, we have the last celebratory session, right? I mean, one of the things we do is to celebrate our time together end of the quarter, and people all share their stories. And, these will be the kind of stories, and they'll all be touching, and there'll be some of them who will come in and say, I taught these practices to my children. And I say, oh my God, that's what are the better gift that you can give to your child than these kind of practices so that, they can become resilient themselves in the future and live more fulfilled lives. I had one story that came out where, what happens in offices, right? I mean, when you go to work, sometimes you get an off day and something is going on and you just lose it. And guess what? That one thing that you lost it people will remember that forever. It is not all the good things that are done. It is that one bad thing that'll kind of screw up the whole thing and your reputation. Then you got to win back, you're apologizing and so on. So this team, what they did is that the person who kind of took the course, he actually had this entire team start measuring their heart rate variability. So they now come as a team and say, oh, I have bad numbers today. I might be in a foul mood. So sorry if I'm apologizing in advance. So it's been a very kind of a nice way by which the impact goes beyond just you, but also influencing others, and not only your team, but also in your personal life. So before I hand over the whole thing, I just want to say one thing, and that is that you might enroll in the course, you might not enroll in the course, that's all fine. I hope that our vectors will cross again at some point in time. And what I kind of, for me, it's all about hearing your stories. And I hope that when we meet again or some vectors cross out there, you'll share your story of how you went about winning that inner game and how it is that you have been living on the journey of living the best version of yourself. So thank you very much, and I'll just pass it on to Marilyn now. Thanks, Marilyn.
Thank you so much, Baba. Thanks to you. Thanks to Casa for such an engaging discussion, and Minnie and Gaurav for your insights. And to everybody who joined, we hope that this gave you just a small taste of the caliber of what you can achieve with the Stanford LEAD program as well. And we'd like to invite you to continue exploring the program and to apply. So first up, We have a live panel discussion with the program ambassadors coming up in just a moment, so we hope that you'll stick around for that. And as you continue to explore LEAD, just keep in mind that the next cohort is starting the program in September. You can actually apply now. You have until the deadline on August 6th to complete your application. That's coming up in just over a couple of weeks, plenty of time to get your materials in. And if you have any questions about the program, whether it's about payment options for tuition, application process, or anything else, don't hesitate to reach out to our team. You'll reach myself or one of the wonderful folks on this call with LEAD team in front of our names, and we're happy to help. And we do hope that we'll have a chance to learn a bit more about you and your goals for pursuing LEAD through the application process, and that we'll welcome you to LEAD and to the GSB community in September. So thank you again to everyone for participating in this session, to Baba and Casa for leading the discussion. And at this point, we'll transition into that live discussion with our ambassadors. Again, we have Gaurav and Minnie who have kindly volunteered to be with us today. And while you heard about them share about their experience and outcomes from the neuro course specifically just a moment ago, they've both completed the full LEAD program and are here to share about their overall experience and outcomes. So over the next about 20 minutes or so, we'll hear from Gaurav and Minnie about why they chose to pursue LEAD, how the program has impacted their personal and professional growth, how they made it work with their very busy schedules. And they'll also share tips on how you can make the most out of your own LEAD experience as well. So I hope you find the discussion here today useful as you explore how LEAD can help you achieve your goals. And as we move through the discussion, if you have any questions that are a bit more administrative in nature, our staff team is happy to take those in the chat. So feel free to add those there and we'll respond to you in chat. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. And I know that many of you on this call are actively thinking about the next steps in your own professional development journey. And our panelists were in your shoes not too long ago, considering enrolling in the program themselves. So I'd like to open this up by asking our panelists to share with us why they chose to pursue Stanford LEAD. And Gaurav, perhaps we can start with you on this one. Tell us a bit about why LEAD.
Yeah, thank you, Marina, for your introduction. So I believe tomorrow belongs to those who prepare it today. So that's my motto. So I pursued my passion of learning through Stanford LEAD. So I wanted to enhance my knowledge, skill, and ability in leadership and business innovation, and also engage with a global network of leaders who are already in the most influential positions in their respective domains, organizations, or startups. So, which will help me, understand the working and also expand my horizon and accelerate my leadership journey in my current role and explore various new possibilities of bringing change within myself. So these were some of my, motivations to carry out the LEAD program certification.
Thanks so much, Gaurav. And Minnie, how about you?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, I was a software engineer for 15 years and very much focused on code. Technical knowledge was there, but leadership skills I felt were not natural, didn't come naturally to me. So I searched for programs and I picked Stanford LEAD because of the curriculum. I looked at the curriculum and the fact that it's online worked for me because at that time when I took the program, my daughter was a teenager and so I had to do the program on my own time. And I was able to listen to recordings while I was sitting in traffic and it worked better because I was able to rewind and do the assignments and internalize even the optional materials. I was able to read them when time permits. Unlike if it was a live session. I love the live sessions too, by the way. They also have, but you just have more control over how you would complete the assignments. And also the fact that the professors, oh, you saw Professor Baba here, amazing. I did some research about the people behind the courses who are teaching the courses, and the Stanford professors are excellent. Many of them are well-known authors, and they don't just know their stuff. They are experts, and they balance everything with not just scholarly knowledge, but also something applicable to life. So I felt like Stanford was the most holistic compared to the other programs that I looked at. And I also happened to be in the Bay Area, so those on-campus meetings like Me Too Week were very convenient. I still look forward to those every year.
I know the optional on-campus events that take place are definitely a highlight for a lot of participants to really translate those online connections to in-person connections. And these meetups take place not just on campus, but in local regions all over the world. And we just love seeing the meetup photos and all of the get-togethers from the community there as well. Just to move on, I want to mention for all of the folks that are exploring LEAD, as you continue to dive into LEAD and the Graduate School of Business, you'll probably notice that at Stanford GSB, our motto is to change lives, change organizations, and change the world. And our programs are really designed to deliver impact. And over the last 10 years, LEAD participants have reported incredibly strong results, both on personal and professional growth. In addition to experiencing growth with their careers, there are countless stories of participants who have successfully launched and scaled new projects, new initiatives, leveraging their learnings from LEAD, and those that have completely transformed not just their own mindsets, but as you heard earlier in the session too, influence those of their teams and their organization. So Gaurav and Minnie, I'd love to take a moment to focus on your outcomes from the program. Can you each tell us a bit about how LEAD has impacted you both personally and professionally? How has it impacted your team or your organization? And Minnie, for this one, let's start with you.
Yeah, so it improved my leadership skills, and that's we did a survey, and the other participants of LEAD also had the same feedback, and there were also some promotions. I believe I got promoted because I was completing the assignments applied to work, and the initiatives that I started were very much related to what I was learning in LEAD. But most of all, I think it's the human factor that also helped me holistically with my relationships with my husband, my daughter, and everybody else, not just at work. Just having that holistic, mindful existence, right? It's not just education. It's not just a brain thing. It's a holistic knowledge. And I think that it helped me in my career. Like, for example, it taught me resilience too. While I was taking this neuroscience program, everybody was like running around crazy, right? And I am very calm. So one person asked me, "Why are you so calm?" Well, I would say the neuroscience program helped me become calm, but it also helps me think straight. When everybody's panicked, I'm able to think straight and help everybody calm down and come on, we can solve this together. And it also helped me start a new initiative about AI because some people were scared about AI. Is it going to take my job? No, I'm helping with the workshops to help people realize it will actually make your work better because now you can focus, you can let AI do the mundane stuff, the repetitive stuff, and then you can focus more on your relationships and dealing with the people at work and influencing others and getting everybody on the same page. So that's how it impacted me in a positive way. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Minnie. And Gaurav, how about you?
Yeah, so for me, it was a life-changing experience. I think it helped me improve my confidence. It really helped me to have better network across globe, and it helped me to leapfrog my leadership journey, to sum up, and it really helped me to have lifelong friends and have relationships with them. It was COVID time when actually I started the learnings in lead. And at that point of time, I was leading the product planning function at my organization. And as the market was shifting towards electric mobility, and there was a very challenging task which was given to me once I completed the lead program, because of my changes, and the capability that I gained about handling companies' future EV programs. And I'm really proud to share that last 2.5 years, we have been working on those programs, and we have unveiled our first EV of Suzuki Group in Europe and India, which will be made in India and exported across 100 countries across the globe. So, learnings from Lead helped me in driving this change towards product development of future EVs, and thereby preparing company to be ready for bringing transformation towards sustainable goals for the country as well as for the world. To sum up, I mean, it really made me improve my capability in handling very complex business situation, my decision-making skills, and made me fearless, and helped me to take initiatives which can bring innovation culture in the organization.
Amazing. Thank you both for sharing that. Um, I'd like to now just take a moment to focus on the program schedule and flexibility. I know that there were a couple of questions about this earlier in the session, so I hope that you find this helpful as well. But LEAD participants, like all of you, lead very full lives, lots of professional commitments, personal commitments as well. And the program is certainly designed with this in mind so that it offers enough flexibility so you can successfully weave it into your daily schedule. Now, when we look at the full program, it runs over a period of 1 year. It's part-time, fully online, and on average, participants are investing about 5 to 10 hours per week to complete the program requirements. Now, as you can see from the schedule displayed on your screen, the year-long program is divided into 4 quarters that run for about 8 to 9 weeks each. So this is that 8 to 9 weeks for the neuro course or retreat that we were referring to. And there are about 3 to 4 weeks of break between each quarter as well. So most participants will take 2 courses at a time to complete that 8 course requirement in 1 year, although you have the option to scale that back to 1 course at a time so that your time commitment is closer to about 3 to 5 hours per week. And you can also take temporary leaves of absence if needed, if you're encountering a particularly busy period at work, or just something unexpected comes up in life throughout the year. You can take a temporary pause and extend your enrollment up to 2 years. So thousands of professionals have gone through this program. There are lots of different ways to make this work with your schedule. And in my conversations with participants, it's clear that everyone has their own way of making it work. So I'd love to ask our panelists to share some insights with us on how you made the program work with your schedule and your commitments. And Gaurav, let's have you share first.
Yeah, I think it's very challenging to manage time, considering the busy schedule and tackling different time zones, because the lectures and the sessions may have maybe planned at different time zones. And so I initially it was very difficult, but we tried to manage, considering focus on planning it better, managing your priorities and tackling different time zones. And it really, it was passion of learning which really helped in managing many priorities. And I think you have to think not for the like 1 year later what will happen, but every day, what kind of scheduling that you have to do. So if you only think of going up to the Everest, the problem will look really difficult. But you just take one step at a time and try to schedule your next day. then the problem will become very easy. So that's what I used to do when I was learning in lead. I used to think of my, next 2, 3 days, how I should plan so that I can complete the assignments and also learn and apply the concepts learned in my day-to-day working.
Thanks, Gaurav. That's a very helpful framework in kind of thinking about the scheduling. And Minnie, how about you? How did you make it work with your schedule?
Yeah, it was hard having a teenager, taking her to school, and completing the assignments. Wednesday was the deadline. And what I did was I focused on family. Of course, I have to give them my time, and then work on lead when they're asleep. Or when on weekends when my daughter's in dance or doing running, or my husband's in a bike race or whatever it is. So I use the uh, free time, quote unquote. Free time includes driving in traffic or sitting in traffic in the shuttle. So just make use of the time, because I looked at it as it's an investment. It's not whatever I read, whatever I learn, is going to stay with me. It's going to be in my brain, and I can use it in life. So I just made the most out of it.
Yeah.
And added, also made sure I read the optional materials as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear from a lot of participants, the more you put in, the more you'll get out. But we certainly recognize that joining LEAD is a significant commitment of your time, as you've heard, energy and resources. And for over 95% of our past participants, they do find that the program was worth their investment. On the financial side, the program tuition is billed in 4 quarterly installments of $4,800 with options to spread your payments over multiple calendar years, which we hope will be helpful to you as you plan. We understand that some of you may be utilizing tuition benefits from your employers, and we hope that this option to spread your payments over time will also help you maximize those annual reimbursement caps. And we're happy to partner with you in thinking through how to structure your enrollment and your payments in a way that makes sense for you, whether you're receiving sponsorship or self-funding the program. And as you weigh how this investment fits into your personal and professional journey, we've asked our panelists to just candidly reflect on their own decision to join the program and what it's meant to them. So panelists, I'd like to ask you, looking back, was Stanford LEAD worth the investment for you, whether that's in terms of time, money, or opportunity costs? Please go ahead and tell us a bit about your perspective on that, and Minnie, we'll start with you.
Yeah, can you hear me? Sorry.
Yep.
So the question was, could you please repeat the question?
Yeah, absolutely. The question is, do you feel that LEAD was worth your investment? Tell us a bit about your thoughts on that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because it changed me as a person. I feel, and based on people around me, they saw the positive change over it. So it's life changing. And also the people, the network, that's something I can't get anywhere else. Like doing the projects with teammates from Africa, from Europe, from Asia. Nowhere else could I have done it that way. So I think it's more than what I paid for it, because it changed my life, and I believe it continues to make me a better person, because now I have a different perspective.
Thank you so much, Minnie. And Gaurav, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the program was worth my investment because you see, investing in yourself is the most rewarding experience. So if we have to improve us or improve to become a better person, then investing in self is very important, I think. And I would request all the lead participants who are there, whether you join this course or another, but the focus should be on how to improve your skills and be relevant in the changing times. And I travel a lot across the globe, so and I meet so many leaders across the globe, either in US or Japan or Europe or China. I think if I would have not done this course, I would have never got an opportunity to interact with so many wonderful people out there doing great work in their respective companies and respective countries. So I think that opportunity itself is such a big, uh, motivation. And I would say that it's kind of, whatever money which I paid for doing this course was really worth the investment. Yeah.
Thank you, Gaurav. Well, for all of you on this call, if you decide that LEAD is the right next step for you, we're currently accepting applications to the cohort that will start in September. And you have just over 2 weeks to complete that application, to complete that by the deadline on August 6th. As a reminder, there are no GRE or GMAT requirements for LEAD. There's also no application fee. So if you're thinking about it, I'd encourage you to go ahead and get started with your application, because as you go through the program application process itself, some of the requirements there will naturally help you think through and clarify your goals. So we hope to receive your applications, and we're looking forward to learning more about you and your goals for pursuing LEAD, and hope to have that opportunity to welcome many of you to LEAD and the Stanford GSB community this September. Now, before we wrap up, I'd love to ask our panelists one final question, and if in 30 seconds or so, if each of you can respond, because I think this will be especially helpful for those considering joining the next cohort. Minnie and Gaurav, what's one tip or piece of advice that you would offer to someone starting LEAD in September to help them get the most out of their experience? And Gaurav, let's have you go first.
My advice to all of the lead aspirant is come with an open mind, learn and apply. So application is very important. Otherwise, if you learn, you will forget. So you have to learn and apply. That's my one single advice to all of.
Great advice. And Minnie?
Yeah, use it so you don't lose it. Some people say, "Oh, I completed a course, I met the deadlines," but if you're not really applying what you're learning into your actual work, it's hard to get the benefit. But if you apply everything that you're learning as you go along, like design thinking, whatever it is, apply it to your projects or whatever you're doing, and you'll see that, wow, it actually works. It's not just theory, it's for real.
It is for real. Well, thank you both so much. Thank you, Minnie and Gaurav, for making the time to join us and share such great insights and advice today. And to everybody who joined and stuck around, thank you for all of your engagement throughout the discussion. As you continue to explore LEAD, don't hesitate to reach out to our team, and we'd be happy to discuss the program further with you. You can email us at leadadmissions@stanford.edu, and I'll drop that into the chat for you as well so that you have it. We are looking forward to staying in touch with you, so do stay connected. But for now, please take good care, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll be in touch. Thanks, everybody.